Lisa Collins is an educator, life coach, trauma practitioner, author, spiritual medium, and assistant professor specializing in healing trauma. She is making a remarkable impact by sharing her own healing journey as well as providing easily accessible approaches for others. Dr. Collins has leveraged energy psychology and healing techniques to transform her life and support others on their healing journeys. You know, the places that trauma's impact hide in our system can be elusive. It hides in our body, mind, and spirit. And when old traumas or stressful experiences continue to live in our bodies and memories, they can be a barrier to living in peace. This experiential session will introduce you to several energy healing approaches you can use for identifying the hidden challenges of trauma and reconnecting with your authentic self. These tools have the potential to transform your life and expand your capacity for peaceful living. Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Collins, and in this presentation, I'll be sharing transformative information about trauma healing for peaceful living. So before we start, let's begin with a meditation. If you could find yourself comfortable, feel yourself in your chair or your seat, you can gently close your eyes, or you can look down at the bottom of your nose and take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. In through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. And when you're breathing out through your mouth, just pucker your lips a little bit, like in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in, think the words so. And as you breathe out, think the words calm. So calm. So calm. Continue on breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth with the words so on the in-breath, calm on the out-breath. Do that a few more times. Now focus on the top of your head. Like focus your energy on the top of your head and tell the top of your head to relax. Yeah, tell the top of your head to relax. And then let that relaxed feeling focus all the way down your body. Like someone's pouring a warm, soothing massage all the way down your body. Have that same feeling go to your neck, to the back of your shoulders, to your face. Just ask your face to relax, your shoulders to relax, your arms, elbows, fingers, your torso, your back, your lower back. Have that feeling roll all the way down your body. Back your legs, your backside, all the way down to your thighs, over your knees, all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And feel that for a second. And then ask your whole body just to relax. Breathe in through your nose, hold it, and slowly out through your mouth. In through your nose, hold it, and slowly out through your mouth. We're going to do one more. In through your nose, hold it, and slowly out through your mouth. And when you're ready, kind of rub your feet on the floor a little bit, wiggle your fingers, and slowly and gently open your eyes. Meditation is so wonderful, and it is It connects us to who we are, and it connects us to the body. And when we're talking about living in peace and talking about trauma, everything starts in the body. That's why I started with a meditation, to like be here now. And it feels so relaxing and so good. Well, most of the times when we're walking around and living our lives, we're not thinking about relaxing our body. And everything that our body holds is inside of us. And believe it or not, trauma lives in the body. Trauma is not an emotional response. Trauma is a response of the body to protect the body. So when we talk about living in peace, the first thing we have to talk about is the body. I've been very fortunate that with all of my experiences in energy medicine and psychology and life coaching as a trauma practitioner, that I have found these ways that I have been able to connect and heal from trauma. And energy medicine is a big part of it. But the first thing I needed to do is I needed to pay attention to my body. So when I talk about the body, what do I mean? Well, we know that the body has energy centers, right? We have 7 energy centers that most people know about, and actually there are more. And in each energy center, something could have occurred in our lifetime, in our early lifetime, or yesterday, that left a mark in our energy center. Well, what do I mean by that? I'll give an example. When I was a new mother, my son touched part of the iron and he burned his hand. I was, I was so upset, of course, as any mother would be. But what mark for me was that, wait a minute, can I be a mother? Look, my baby has already hurt himself. And so what chakra center would that live in? Well, the chakra center that it would live in for me is the root chakra. Do I belong here? Should I be here? And when there's a mark on the energy center, what occurs is that energy center, energy doesn't flow through it. So what does that look like in our lives? Well, it looks like our thoughts. It looks like actions that we may take. And let's be more and more specific about it. If we don't know our energy centers and we don't know if the energy is flowing in and out appropriately, we may not realize that a trauma may be living inside. Let's give another example. Traumas are, let's, like I talked about my son, what a trauma could be is it's it's not always something huge. It's always not something big. It could be that you broke your shoestring on the way to work or you spilled coffee on yourself. That's a misconception about trauma, is that it has to be this really big thing. The other thing about trauma is it's invisible. Like it lives inside of my body. It's experiences I had, like the one about my son when he was a little guy. About something that happened at work. It lives in my body. And what we know from interpersonal neurobiology is that when a trauma occurs, our body forms a neural net. A neural net, it almost like it encapsulates, like puts trauma in a small little cube and it hides it away. And anytime something comes close, our body's activated. Hebb's axiom says, whatever wires together fires together, therefore survives together. And anything that comes close to it, we call it remembering. So if something happened to me, let's say when I was young, I may not remember it, but my body does. That's why we always start with the body. And this talk is going to be something that tools you can take away to live today that make you a little curious, like, I wonder why I do that. I noticed that. Being curious about something, what I call it, is I pull this thread of curiosity, and it has led me to many, many ways to heal. So we have our energy centers. Most of us know what they are. Have we engaged with them? Like, have we had meditations around each energy center to see if something comes up for us? When something does occur in our life, have we thought about, well, I wonder where that's coming from? Again, curiosity, being able to look, reach, pull back. So I'll use my life as an example because I'm an open book. So when I started studying trauma, I didn't think that I needed to study it for myself. I needed to study it for someone else. I went and I learned how to become a trauma practitioner with the Peace Builders at the Center for Justice and Peace Building. And what I found out about myself is that I did not know when I was experiencing trauma. One of the things about trauma is that remember, the body is going to respond. If the body responds, what does that mean? That means that your breathing could get shallow. That means that you could freeze. And freezing could look many different ways today. Freezing could mean that you were saying the same thing over and over again. The same thing, maybe you change some phrasing, but you're cycling, you're repeating the same thing over and over again. That could be freezing today. How about fawning? When there's a trauma response, people may fawn. What does fawning mean? Fawning means that you're wanting to make sure everybody else is okay. You want to make sure everyone else is fine. That's fawning. How about flocking? Well, flocking is kind of how it sounds. You want to be in a group of people. You want to feel that safety. These things happen in some very, very subtle ways that we don't understand. To help us understand a little bit more about how trauma responds, I have a couple of slides I want to show you. So this particular slide comes from the Strategies for Trauma Awareness and Resilience. It's where I went and I learned about trauma and how to be a trauma practitioner. What you see in the slide is that a traumatic event happens, and you'll see experiencing acting in on one side of the graphic, and you see acting out on the other side of the graphic. What occurs, and I'm going to show you here, something happens, anything, and you start to feel in your body. Will you feel all these things? No. Could you feel some of these things? Yes. You could feel shock. You can feel the ones I just mentioned: fight, flight, freeze, and let's not forget flock and fawn. You can feel helpless, powerless, but notice that these things are acting in. It's happening inside of your body, right? But look on the other side, acting out. We know trauma has two kinds of responses, acting in and acting out. Well, look at the other side. Do you identify with any of these? And better yet, think, have you ever witnessed or seen any of these before? Dehumanizing other people, viewing violence as redemptive, responding to social and cultural pressures with pride, that acting in, being seen as a victim, embracing us versus them. Think about it. Have you seen any of these things? Well, we see these things in our society all the time. These are trauma responses. But the thing that really got me when I saw this was that you see these two circles? These two circles are an infinity sign. You can go from one cycle to the other cycle without even knowing that you are having a trauma response. That is what got my attention. And my question as I go along and talk about this is, do you know when you're in a response? And that's the body part that I was referring to. And that's the part that got me very, very curious about my own body. When was I in a trauma response? When was I frozen? When was I acting out? When was I acting in? And if I was on these cycles, do I know how to break free? The other thing I want to show you, of course, I have to show you how to break free, is in this same model, here you see the trauma response. Here's the acting in, and here's the acting out. And how do you break free? You find safety and support, and I would say a healing community of support to break free from the cycles. Over here it says healthy community, body, brain, and I would add to that energy regulation. Body, brain, and energy regulation. And when you know those things, you can break free. You're going to acknowledge that this has happened, and you're going to reconnect with who? With yourself. This is a vital, vital step in learning how to heal trauma. Do I recognize I'm in trauma? Do I have the safety to break free with a healthy community, body, brain, and energy regulation? And then I can move on to acknowledge and reconnect with myself. So, how does that look in practice? What does that really, really look like? Like, those graphics are, when I first saw them, I could identify with them. I wanted to break free, but what does it really, really look like? Let me give you some practical experiences. One time, as an adult, I was with someone, I think I was on a date, and the person touched me on my upper forearm. And I said, don't ever touch me there again. Really dramatically. Now, did I know why I said that? I have no idea. Was I overreacting? Well, yeah, I was overreacting, but my body knew. I didn't know, but my body knew. And when I talk about being curious, it's in situations that you could easily pass over. The person apologized to me. I went on about my way. I didn't think about it again until I started doing trauma work and I start cleaning up my energy centers until I start looking at, wait a minute, that was kind of out of the ordinary. Well, I don't remember ever anyone grabbing me in that form or fashion, but my body remembers, and our bodies keep the score. So in order to heal trauma, we need to do a couple of things. We need to connect with our bodies. We need to do that in whatever way feels good for you, feels like a connection for you. But when your body gives you a signal, to pay attention to it. When your body talks to you, to listen. You don't have to know the answers, but to listen. That's one thing. The other thing is like, what do I do once I recognize that I have felt something like this? Like, where do I go and how do I remove it? That's a really good question. When we know our bodies well enough, we get to know what our window of tolerance is. What's a window of tolerance? Where our bodies are being regulated every day. We're going in and out of our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. It's how we say regulated throughout the day. And as we're moving throughout the day, going through whatever we're going through, walking in and out of our house or going to get the mail, our nervous system is working. When we've had too much, our nervous system can be out of balance. It leaves the window. And when it leaves the window, either we are overextended or heightened, or we're numbing. Those are two different spectrums to think about. And to think about, A, do you know your body? And B, do you realize when you're outside of your window? When things are not actually feeling right to you? Then there's the place to be curious. So I have a few tools for you to use to be curious, but I want you to think about, what is my window of tolerance? When is it too much? What does my body physically tell me when it's going to be too much? Do my ears get hot? Does my thinking cycle on and on. I think the same thing over and over again. What is it that is that little message beforehand that I can self-rescue? I can take myself off of the cycles and say, hey, right now I need to take a breath. And not knowing the answer is totally okay. Then I'm going to give you some tools to help with that. So we've talked about the window of tolerance. We've talked about acting in and acting out, and we talked about breaking free. One thing I would say right here is, do you have a healing community of support? Do you have people that you can talk to that you will have attunement with? Attunement. That when you go to talk to them, that they will be there for you. They'll be able actually to listen, to validate, and to care for you. That's what I mean by a healing community of support. So think about that too. The window of tolerance, a healing community of support, people who understand that your body needs regulation, your brain needs regulation, and your energy needs regulation. Your energy centers matter. They're the foundation of your whole system. And so when you're connected with body, mind, and spirit, you're absolutely on your way. So let's give an example. So that thing happened to me with my arm. I didn't know what that was about. Um, I wanted to be curious about it, but I also didn't want to. I don't know if you've heard this before, as I don't want to. Things happened in my childhood. It was back then, and I don't need to think about those anymore. My parents did the best I can, and I'm just gonna move on. Well, some of those things that have happened to me in my childhood or my early adulthood leave what I talked about, those marks on your energy center. And a mark on your energy center stops the flow in and the flow out. And one of those things about my energy centers was when I was a kid, I really wanted, I don't know, I wanted parents who cared about what I wanted. And I'm not saying my parents didn't care about what I wanted. I guess what I wanted is I wanted parents who were the kind of way I parented my children. I became the kind of parent I wanted. Let me give you an example. So we're out for a vacation, and me and my family, my youngest child, and we're in a snowy haven. It's wonderful. And every day we talk to our son about, hey, what do you want to do today? He was about 10 years old. And he shared with us what he wanted to do. And we framed our time with his interest. And during that time, I was getting a little moody, but I didn't really realize what I was moody about. And I don't know if you've ever had that where you can't shake it. And these are good places to be curious. And I couldn't shake it. And I told myself, listen, take some time now. Take some time, take your journal. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to go and write about it. And what I did is I wrote, and this is one tool that I've used that has helped me so much. This tool is called Looking Back at Younger Selves. And this tool is a tool that I was first introduced through the map of abundance. And this tool looks back at when you were younger, that things may have not been what you wanted. And what was amazing to me is the freedom that I got from this tool. So let me tell you what the tool is. The tool is that you go back to the age that may be bringing your adult self some issues. And you ask your younger self, what would you like in this situation? What would you like? And then you tell your younger self they can have everything they want. So if that means that they want a Ferris wheel, they can have a Ferris wheel. Whatever they want, they can have it. Why? What does this have to do with trauma? I'm going to tell you. When I was feeling moody when on my vacation, my Winter Haven snow vacation, what I realized is that my 10-year-old self was feeling a little jealous when I started doing my writing. And how did I do that writing? I just sat down and did a free write. And what I realized is that my 10-year-old self wanted parents like I was parenting, wanted to be asked, what's your interest for today? Now, I'm up in age. So, really? Could really my 10-year-old self be showing up in my life? Well, it did that day. And often trauma shows up in these very unusual ways. That's why we have to be curious. That's why we have to say, that doesn't kind of feel right. And I'm not quite sure what it is. When you do younger self work, you go and you ask that age that is showing up. And I got to tell you, I have had all kinds of ages show up in my adult life. And because I'm curious about it, because I've gone and done the energy work with each chakra, I can lean in a little bit and say, what is this exactly? And that's what it was that day. So I asked my 10-year-old self, what do you want? And that's exactly what she wanted. She wanted parents that asked her about what she wanted to do. She wanted parents that put her interest in front. And I told her, you can have all of those things. And you know what the funny thing about all this is? Then those feelings went away. Trauma lives in our bodies, it lives in our energy, it lives in our brain regulation. And it comes in so subtle ways. The younger self, that is a very, very tough activity to get to. In order to get to it, you have to get to know your body. You have to get that mind body regulation going. You have to listen to your body, and then you get to be curious. What's another tool? Another tool I use is called the thinking map. And these are tools you can use today. If you find yourself, um, if you find yourself acting or behaving in a way that you're curious about, like, wow, I really overreacted there, or you feel a sensation in your body, that's when you can be curious. Ask yourself, what chakra is this associated with? Is there chakra work I need to do for this particular feeling or for this particular energy? And then you will be led. My experience is that I was led into all these amazing ways of being. I'm going to share some more with you. So I was at work. I had a meeting on my calendar. I did not know what the meeting was for, and it annoyed me. That kind of annoyance you can't shake. And I went to the secretary and I asked her, what is this meeting for? She didn't know. I went to the room. The meeting was not set up. I said, oh, the meeting's not set up. So now, I mean, I want to shake this kind of gnarly feeling and kind of moody feeling, but I can't seem to shake it. So my friend in the meeting said, Lisa, what are you going to say yes to? Because you're not saying yes to this meeting. I kind of sat down, I grabbed my journal, and I start writing, free writing. And I used a tool which I call the thinking map. And I'm going to explain to you and share with you what the thinking map is. So the thinking map comes from Conscious Freedom Life Coaching, in which I'm a Conscious Freedom Life Coach. And in the thinking map, what I did is I wrote what was going on while I'm in a meeting and I don't know what's going to happen. And I wrote how I felt. Well, I feel annoyed and frustrated and unsettled, a little angry. And then after that, I wrote, what was a deep belief about myself? Well, that doesn't seem right, but that is the prompt. What is the deep belief about yourself? Well, the deep belief about myself out of these three categories, powerless, unworthy, and deprived, was I felt powerless. Like this meeting was happening to me. And a lot of times in my life, I did feel like things were happening to me. Well, where did those things come from? So this is the part where I look down into my subconscious. Was there anything that happened to me in my early childhood or in my life would cause me to believe that I was powerless? Well, there were many things that occur. And those things were rising up. when we talk about trauma, right? Hidden in the body, were rising up and were showing up in my adult life in this meeting. And what occurred to me at that time is that there were lots of times where I didn't know things that were happening in my life. Now, we know children don't know a lot of things that's happening in their life, but apparently for me, it was enough that it had lodged itself as a memory inside of my body, inside of my energy, inside of my psyche. And what occurred for me was that I had an idea that when I was younger, I lived with my mom and her sisters, and I called them all mom. That must have been very confusing for me. I think during that time, there were a lot of unknowns, and those unknowns were showing up in my adult body in a meeting. Wow. Well, the next step of the thinking map is to rewrite the narrative. So that's what I began to do. I was in that meeting because I was the decision maker of the meeting. I had the power in the meeting. And what I wrote in my journal was, it's okay that I don't know things. I have the intelligence, the know-how, and the skill to be able to take care of myself. Also, if I need help, I know how to ask for help. And this situation and any unknown situation will be okay. Well, guess what happened? That energy dissipated. It went away. Like, to have something so deep inside of you and that drives you to just go away, it just invisibilized itself. And anytime that there's an unknown in my life, it's not the same anymore. I don't have that tense feeling that I used to live with for a long time. Well, that's just the way I am. You get that certain email, you get that gut punch. Well, that's just the way it is. Well, no, it's not. You can live in peace. And those two examples I just gave are ways that really subtle ways where your younger self shows up in your 50-year-old body at work. Not probably the best, but how to be curious about those things. And I want to say, and compassionately, look at other people who may be in your life or who you're working with and notice and recognize that you too may be talking to their eighth grade self, their 16-year-old self, their 5-year-old self at a point. We know from the cycles that we saw, that graphic, that when a trauma happens, it happens in the body. When we're able to recognize trauma happening in the body of others and ourselves, we're able to have compassionate steps that we can take to self-rescue ourselves and to be that loving guidance for other people. It works both ways. So the first thing that I did to bring peace into my life was I did recognize what was happening in the body. And I gave you two things to think about. When's the last time you did a chakra meditation? That you went to that chakra and asked it, how are you doing? How is everything working? Is there anything that you need? Where you felt whether the energy was flowing in and out adequately. And then if it does bring up something from the past, something that has been harmful, if there is a mark there, how do you go back and heal that? Well, I gave you an example. The thinking map and younger selves were ways that you can go back immediately and say, hey, what do you need? And I have to be honest with you. As a practitioner, as an educator, as an author, I did not think these things were really going to work. Everything that I have learned because I have used the tools in my own life. I have learned that these tools and energy medicine, psychology, interpersonal neuropsychology, the intersection of all of them and the body work have created a web of healing and transformation in my life. So the things I talk about, I'm giving you examples from my life because I have actually lived them. I have actually got to know my body. I have actually cleaned my chakras and go back and revisit them. I have removed those black marks from my chakras and expanded my energy. The energy that flows in is so amazing. It is so magnificent that you'll say, oh yeah, I think I'm going to do a little bit more of this. I also, during this talk to you about your window of tolerance. That is so vital. Your window of tolerance. Do you know when you've had too much? And what are those things that are sending you to numb or to be completely out of your window of tolerance, be heightened or numb? Knowing what those are before really is helpful. Really, really helpful in being curious and using tools like Younger Selves or the Thinking Map. What other tools can you use? Well, we know we did a meditation to start with. Meditation and getting to know your body regularly will definitely help. And how about others? How do we co-regulate with other people? Well, we know that our energy, how our auras are, and how our bodies are, sometimes they can connect with other people. If you're empathic like I am, you can really feel other people's pain. And one thing that you can do for yourself is be conscious of your energy and how, and not have your field too open if you're a practitioner working with other people. There's definitely ways to settle yourself and to make sure that your energy field is not too open as you're working to help others. As a practitioner, I know that my energy field needs to be closed off so that what's happening with the person I'm helping is not bleeding over into me. So, and able to do that, I have to know myself really well. I have to know what my traumas are. I have to know those things that are too close. It's like your hand is getting too close to the stove. I need to know that for myself, which is really what I'm talking about is the window of tolerance in a different way. And then I need to know my body. Like, don't touch me here. And then I have gone back and healed that. All of those things will help you to be able to live in peace. But the easy lift here is to know your body. You got two excellent tools, Younger Selves and the Thinking Map. And then you have also the tool of being able to go and back to your energy centers and see, are they clear? Are they clear? If you left today with just the thought of, you know what, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to know my body, or I'm going to have the curiosity when my body tells me something. How many times have we had that intuitive thought that we needed to do something and we said, not now? How about if we lean into that intuitive thought just a little bit to say, I want to be curious about that. I want to know what that's about. That pulls the thread and pulls back the blanket to be able to transform your life and to live in peace. Probably the most wonderful thing about all of this is that each little bit of healing brings back that much more positive energy into my life, which I can't even explain to you how good that feels. It feels amazing that I live in peace and I have freedom. I have freedom from things that used to plague me, that used to throw me out of my window of tolerance. So I ask you to be curious. Be curious. Know your window of tolerance. Look, be curious about your chakras. Be curious about, could I do some healing there? What if I did a chakra meditation for each one of my chakras to start with, the 7 just to start with? And then when something happens that makes you a little moody or fussy, cranky, why? Why are you cranky? Just like myself with that meeting, you could use a thinking map, and I'll review it right now. You can write, what happened? Well, I went to a meeting that I didn't know about. How did you feel? Write how you felt. Then, what is a deep belief about yourself? Did you feel like you were powerless? Did you feel like you were unworthy? Did you feel like you were deprived? If this is true, like one of these things, what would make you think that about yourself? Where would you get that information? And go back to that memory or memories in my situation and say, wait a minute, that was then. This is now. I don't have to feel that way about myself. Matter of fact, and rewrite the narrative. This is who I am today. This is what I have to offer. And those positive affirmations over and over again, and watch the shift in your body, mind, and spirit, because there will be one. There will be a shift when you go back and remove old thought patterns, old programming that is in your energy centers because of something that happened when you were little, or if something that happened during a tragedy. I can't tell you what the freedom is. The freedom is amazing. My hope and prayer for you is that you will use one of these tools. You'll be curious about it. You'll look, you can find these graphics at the Center for Justice and Peace Building store. And you will recognize when you're on the cycle, and you will break free with your energy, with your body, and with your mind regulation. And you'll be kind and gentle with yourself, and you'll reconnect to your authentic self and who you're meant to be, so that you can do the work that you're meant to do in this world. Thank you so much for having me.